PR Connections Radio presents.
Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele, and we have another show planned for you tonight as we're going to be doing our recap show here on Vegas Hockey Hub. We're going to be talking about the Vegas Golden Knights and Florida Panthers game. So there's definitely a lot of good dialogue we could be talking about, some good back and forth as we're going to be talking about what happened between Vegas and Florida. And there's going to be a lot of stuff that we're going to be talking about in this game. And I will point out that when it comes to Vegas and when it comes to Florida, there is some good stuff that we're going to be discussing here on tonight's show. And that will be including what happened in this game, kind of breaking down what happened. Now, I do want to mention to go to PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. Check out all of the content we have on the network, including Vegas Hockey Hub. And I will say to everyone watching all around the world, I highly recommend and I would advise going onto the website, PR Connections Radio, and checking out all of the amazing content on there, including Vegas Hockey Hub. We have Crypto and Cash, Love of Business. We have The Power, Cozy Stones on there as well. So we have a bunch of amazing content on the website. We also have a YouTube channel, PR Connections Radio. So if you want to subscribe to that and help support the network as we upload every single day, Monday to Sunday. So we upload every single day onto the YouTube channel. So I highly recommend going out and checking out PR Connections Radio and the YouTube channel. And I also highly recommend going out and looking at all the social medias as well. They have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We are everywhere on PR Connections Radio. Vegas Hockey Hub also has our social medias as well. We have a YouTube channel where we upload content. We try to upload every single day onto the YouTube channel at Vegas Hockey Hub. We also have Vegas Hockey Hub shorts that we're also doing and a bunch of amazing content as well. So go to the YouTube channel, Vegas Hockey Hub. We also have our Facebook page at Vegas Hockey Hub where we go and try to, upload, interact, and engage with all the people who watch our shows and people who are followers of our platform. We also have an Instagram account where we upload from all the events that we're going to at Vegas Hockey Hub. We also have our Twitter account at Vegas Hockey Hub where we try to live stream and try to live tweet on every Golden Knights game. We try to interact with everyone who supports the show at Vegas Hockey Hub. And we are also on Twitter and on TikTok as well at Vegas Hockey Hub. Now, getting into this game itself, Yuri Patara would be in net for your Vegas Golden Knights. So after having Logan Thompson for a while, he will actually be having his first back-to-back night for your Vegas Golden Knights organization. And it'll be interesting to see how he does against the Florida team, as this will be a rematch of the Stanley Cup final from a year ago. And this is definitely fascinating how a couple of months go by. And we're seeing a kind of a tale of two teams here. We have Vegas Golden Knights team that heading into this game was 21-8-5, heading into Sunrise to take on the Florida Panthers, who were 18-12-2. And, Florida is a really good organization, and they've done pretty good this year. Florida has a lot of good positives kind of going in, and there's a lot that we can go into and discuss about this game when it comes to Florida. And, so Yuri Patara being in net tonight for Vegas. And getting into the actual game, kind of breaking down what happened here. In the first period, no goals were between Vegas and Florida. There was no goals. There was nothing happening there at all. But the physicality in the first period is what you definitely have to mention in this game. As 7 minutes into the first period, Brayden McNabb would have a tripping penalty against Sam Reinhart to put the Vegas Golden Knights on the penalty kill, and they would execute that and kill off the penalty against Brayden McNabb. And then 4 minutes later, let's drop him and toss him, baby, as Keegan Kolesar would fight Ryan Lundberg. And this is really interesting because if you don't remember, Keegan Kolesar actually has a little bit of history of fighting in the NHL. Keegan Kolesar has been well known in the past for being the guy that drops the gloves and defends his teammates and stuff like that. But really interesting how 11 minutes into the first period, Keegan Kolazar would fight Ryan Lumberg in this game. And I will say for Kolazar, this is somebody who does very well at his job. And Ryan Lumberg, there is some history in the Stanley Cup final. There was a lot of physicality in that Stanley Cup final between Vegas and Florida. And it did kind of stay over in this game as well. So I'll say Lumberg and Kolazar, they fought in the first period. And I just do want to quickly mention that when it came to Keegan Kolazar and Lumberg, I like the performance I saw from Keegan Kolazar. I kind of like what I saw in that fight. You know, similar to what happened in the last game where I broke down the Tampa Bay and Vegas game. There's some good fights in here. And then Nick Waugh, about a minute later, would have a high sticking penalty against Florida. The Vegas Golden Knights would once again be on the penalty kill, but they would actually kind of wear that off and would be able to kill off the penalty. So despite having multiple penalties in the first period, your Vegas Golden Knights would end up killing off every single one of them. And the first period would come to an end, 20 minutes complete, and your Vegas Golden Knights would end up 0-0 to Florida. And not even 90 seconds into the second period, Mark Stone, your captain, would have the 11th goal of the season, assisted by Ivan Barbashev, who's just had an incredible month for your Vegas Golden Knights. And they would be up 1-0 against Florida. So I'll say when it comes to Mark Stone, really good job by him. 11th goal of the season for Vegas. And I really like what I've seen from Mark Stone this year. This is someone who has been the leader of this team. And I will say on record, Jack Eichel's a top 10 player. We all know that. But if we had to do a team MVP, like if there was somebody that is the most valuable player for your Vegas Golden Knights, Mark Stone would definitely have to be that guy based off of how he's performed this year, based on how he's doing for your Vegas Golden Knights. Mark Stone has done a phenomenal job as your Golden Knights captain. And we've also paid attention to this. He has scored a point. And this is incredible. He has scored a point in 8 of the last 9 games for your Vegas Golden Knights. So for a captain of Vegas, he scored a goal in this game. He had a 2-goal performance against Calgary a little while ago. But Mark Stone has scored a point in 8 of the last 9 games. Good job by the captain, Mark Stone. He is just doing a really solid performance by Vegas. And like I mentioned before, if we had a team MVP, Jack Eichel, he's a top 10 player. I give him props, no doubt. But Mark Stone would be my pick. He'd be my vote if I had to put a name in the ballot. Mark Stone would be your Vegas Golden Knights team MVP based off of what he has done this year. 5 goals and 10 assists on the year in the month of December. So I will say for Mark Stone, just to kind of get as we're getting towards the end of the year here, 5 goals and 10 assists for Mark Stone. He just really has shown that he is a true captain of your Vegas Golden Knights, and he is doing an amazing job out there in Vegas. So, yeah, Mark Stone, 1-0 to kind of put this game on the right track for Vegas. And then you would have a penalty for Vegas as they would suffer a too many men on the ice penalty served by Michael Amadio. And then a few minutes later, Evan Rodriguez would have a holding penalty against Zach Whitecloud. Vegas would be on the power play. Unfortunately, they would not execute in this situation. So after a couple of penalties and about halfway into the second period, Sam Bennett would have his 5th goal of the season for Florida, assisted by Carter Varhey and Brendan Montour. It would be a 1-1 game between Vegas and Florida. And you know what? It's unfortunate, but it does happen. Florida, Vegas, we saw in the Stanley Cup final last year, that momentum can turn on a dime in the NHL, just depending on, where you are at the beginning of the game or where you are at the end of the game. It's really interesting to see what happens there. So, yeah, Bennett with the goal, be tied 1-1. And then a couple of minutes go by in this game, and Gustav Forsling has his 4th goal of the season for Florida, be assisted by Alexander Barkov. It would be a 2-1 game for Florida. So unfortunately, Vegas, after starting out the game strong with a 1-0 lead, they would actually be down 2-1 with a few minutes left in the second period as Florida would take the lead. But make no fear, with about a minute left in the second period, Pavel Dorofeev would have his 3rd goal of the season. As with 1 minute left, he would be assisted by Ben Hutton and Keegan Kolazar to put the game tied at 2. And I will say for Vegas, good job by Pavel. He's been doing a really solid job as of late. So really solid job by the former prospect. Now getting into the last period of the game for your Vegas Golden Knights. Now after a Sam Bennett holding penalty towards the beginning of the game, that would be a power play opportunity by Vegas. Vegas would not put the puck in the back of the net, still be tied at 2. And then Ben Hutton would have an interference penalty against Matthew Tkachuk. And unfortunately, Florida would take advantage as Carter Varhey would have his 16th goal of the season. And it would be assisted by Brandon Montour and Matthew Tkachuk. So on the power play, Florida would go up in this game, and they would be a 3-2 affair. And then about a minute and a half later, Zach Whitecloud would have a cross-checking penalty against Evan Rodriguez. To give you a little bit of flashback here, in the second period, Evan Rodriguez had a holding penalty against Zach Whitecloud. So Whitecloud essentially returned the favor by having a penalty against Evan Rodriguez. But Florida would take advantage and unfortunately would kind of put the game away for Vegas, as with about halfway into the third period, Sam Reinhart with his 19th goal of the season on the power play for Florida, assisted by Alexander Barkov and Matthew Tkachuk. It would be a 4-2 game for Florida. But you know what? Even though it's 4-2 and the goals are over, it doesn't mean that the game is over. Because for your Vegas Golden Knights and for Florida, it would just get started for your Vegas Golden Knights. So after a Paul Cotter roughing penalty against Matthew Tkachuk, there would be absolute pandemonium and chaos, as with 1 second left in the game, there would be a multitude of penalties as a massive scrum happened near the bench as Florida and Vegas would go at it. As you would have Alex Pietrangelo with a roughing penalty against Matthew Tkachuk, Matthew Tkachuk with a roughing penalty against Pietrangelo, William Karlsson with a misconduct penalty, Alex Pietrangelo, Matthew Tkachuk, Sam Bennett, Aaron Ekblad, all receiving game misconducts as the buzzer would sound. And this was just a good old-fashioned scrum between Florida and between Vegas. And I will mention that when it comes to this situation, I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh, Florida's in the wrong, Vegas is in the wrong. I'm not going to go there. But here's what I will say. Whenever you can see a scrum in hockey, it's always a good day. Like, it's always a good day when you can actually sit there and watch a melee unfold from start to finish. It's always amazing. I love it personally. I've always thought it is fantastic to see in the National Hockey League. Anytime there's a hockey fight, a hockey scrum, amazing to see. So that was the way this game ended. Florida would win this game 4-2 over Vegas. Now, let's just kind of go over what the stats were in this game, because the Florida Panthers would have an astounding 42 shots on net against Vegas. So not only do you have a rookie goalie in Yuri Patara in net, but he had to go up against 42 shots on net as opposed to Vegas, who had only 25. The Vegas Golden Knights had 21 hits. Florida had 24. And in this game alone, and this actually made me get a little chuckle out of me. In this game alone, Florida had 41 penalty minutes, and Vegas had near 40 penalty minutes. So I find that really interesting how a near, as a near 80 penalty minutes combined between Florida and Vegas. So for a Stanley Cup rematch that happened in Sunrise out there in Florida, the fact that we ended up having a near 80 penalty minutes combined between the two teams is just absolutely insane. I just really love that the physicality from the Stanley Cup final did not come to an end. And I will point out the obvious here. And when you get to the box score, it kind of shows it as well. Just with your Vegas Golden Knights, William Karlsson had a 10-minute misconduct. King Kolazar had a 5-minute fighting major. You also had Alex Pietrangelo, who had 12 minutes alone in penalty minutes. Now, granted, that doesn't even compare to the dozen that Sam Bennett and Matthew Tkachuk would have on the Florida side as well. So when it comes to your Vegas Golden Knights, a lot of physicality here. There was a good back and forth, some fighting in between the two teams here. And I will say, as a hockey fan, I enjoyed it personally. Florida had a 52% winning percentage on the faceoff compared to Vegas with 48. So kind of even in that aspect. I've always said that unless it's like a huge number, if it's around 51, 49, 52, 48, I sit there and say it's kind of around even between Florida and Vegas. Now, the Florida Panthers were 2 for 6 on the power play. Vegas was 0 for 2 on the power play. So the power play did not show up for your Vegas Golden Knights, unfortunately. Unfortunately, the power play just did not execute and did not take care of business in this game. I also mentioned the block shots. Vegas had a near double the amount of block shots in this game, as they had 21 block shots as opposed to Florida, who had 11. Vegas had 4 takeaways, as Florida had 9. So Florida had double the takeaways as Vegas did, but Vegas had double the amount of block shots. And, it's going to be interesting to see what happens for Vegas moving forward, because the upcoming schedule for Vegas, you're going to be going to Anaheim, playing at the Honda Center. You're going to be then heading back home to T-Mobile Arena, playing in LA, before you have to head to Seattle. And then you have to continue this kind of road trip here, as after you go from Seattle, you then head home. And then you head home and you take on Florida once again. They're going to be taking on Florida twice in the span of about a week. Then you have the New York Islanders. You have Colorado, who's a really strong team, a really good team there. You also have the Boston Bruins, Calgary Flames, New York Islanders, the Rangers back-to-back, Islanders back-to-back. Like, there is some good matchups that are going to be coming up with your Vegas Golden Knights. And I will say confidently that the Vegas Golden Knights, they've had a bit of a losing streak right now. Hey, it happens. It's the middle of the season. What can you do? But what I will point out is that when it comes to Vegas, I look at that and say, your Vegas Golden Knights are at a point in time where, you have a little bit of a setback, but overall, you're going to be okay. I would rather start kind of losing in the middle of the season and then pick it back up towards the end of the year than start losing early in the season. And then by the time you start trying to win again, you've already have such a massive peak and have such a massive hill to climb that you essentially can't get away from it. So for Vegas, having a strong start to the year, now he's starting to fall off just a little bit towards the end of the 2023-2024 season. Hopefully by the trade deadline, and I know that's a few months away, so it's kind of hard to talk about, but by the trade deadline, hopefully Vegas will turn around the ship and they will start winning in multiple, they'll start racking up points again and again and again for your Vegas Golden Knights. So I will say when it comes to this, there's a lot of good that we could talk about in this game, but the one takeaway I will have, as I'm going to end you with it, the one takeaway I will give is that when it comes to your Vegas Golden Knights, that this is a team that is physical when it needs to be. This is a team that can be physical and they can fight and they can be rough when needed. Against Washington, they did it. Against Florida, they did it. Against Tampa Bay, they did it. When you have a team that's very physical, Florida and Tampa Bay, for example, Vegas can go up against them. And it's really interesting to see how many more teams try to kind of show that style against Vegas. So I will say, as we're kind of wrap this up here on Vegas Hockey Hub, I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. And until next time, I'm your host. Until next time, continue watching hockey. Go support junior hockey, and go Knights, go.